My goal, I'm limiting myself to no bread, no carbs, no sugar,
How I use salmon
dairy,
sperm to brighten and
no
strengthen my
meat,
skin
no
barrier.
fish,
I'm not
no
kidding you, this
alcohol.
PDRN capsule cream uses DNA extracted from
I'm
salmon
hungry.
sperm. PDRN is game-changing for dark spots, acne scars, skin rejuvenation, and of course I'm still using my vitamin C capsule cream. I love the combo of PDRN and vitamin C for hyperpigmentation.
And I'm going to hold your hand when I say this. If you look ugly, if you look crazy, that's all on you, baby. And being broke isn't an excuse either.
So I pose the question to the women in this room today. Please raise your hands if you would trade 5 years of your life for the so-called perfect body.
You probably clicked on this video mad as hell, but I promise you, it is not what it seems. My name is Natasha, and I like to discuss things and share my thoughts. And today I want to discuss beauty. And throughout this video, I want us to keep 2 questions in mind. Number 1, does free will exist? And number 2, what is beauty and how do we perform it? From the edges, from the ages of about 1 to 7, I remember never really caring about what I looked like. Not that I necessarily felt beautiful or something, but more like this is me, this is how I look like. Why wouldn't I like it, right? Like I never had anything negative to say about myself. I liked looking at pictures. Then when I turned 8, there was a shift. Everyone started giving me tips on my body. My mom, my aunts, my female teachers. Slowly, the conversations with my fellow girls started being about what we don't like about our bodies. Our hair. Started going shopping. I started crying in changing rooms. Other girls were telling me how they're crying in changing rooms. It became exchanging tips on beauty, on body hair, and older women telling me about what it means to be ladylike. But what I also noticed is that the boys weren't having the same conversations. According to a survey, it showed that worldwide women spend more time on beauty on average than men. And like according to the Department of Corrections, which literally tried to show like the price of beauty that is incurred by both men and women. Women usually spend about $3,756 a year compared to $2,928 for men, and the average monthly amount that would be spent would be on facials, manicures, haircuts, pedicures, makeup, and men would spend more on hand cream, gym memberships, facial moisturizers, shaving products, and supplements. And for me, like those products are super different because these are also things that women would spend on, right? So there's this kind of like a gendered beauty, right? Like beauty is gendered then in that sense. According to NIH, which did a study, this was a study from 2003 to 2004. They first of all looked at the prevalence of eating disorders in adults, and we see that the prevalence of binge eating disorder was twice as high among females than in males. Bulimia nervosa and bulimia nervosa was 5 times higher among women than in men. And then in adolescence, we see that the eating disorders were more than twice as prevalent among females than in males, and it increased modestly with age. Then this is according to the BDD Foundation. These are some facts about BDD, which is basically body dysmorphia. And like I want to highlight 2 points. We know very little about cultural influences in BDD. For example, it may be more common in cultures that put an emphasis on the importance of appearance. And in Western cultures, it is believed to be equally common in men and women. But I want to focus on the second statement. Although milder forms of BDD may be more common in women, which I think is what most women, because it's not like all of us or have BDD, but this dissatisfaction, I think, is more common among women. this all boils down to gender roles. We all understand by now that under patriarchal capitalism, a man's worth is their money and women's worth is beauty. So it literally always shocks me whenever I say this and people believe that it is a controversial statement to say as a feminist. As women, our looks are our social currency, our literal face card. Like, actually, even when men look for who to date, a more conventionally attractive partner is more valuable because you add to his currency. You are the money that he's dealing with, okay? You are substantiating his value. Men will genuinely refuse to date someone who differs from the standard, okay? Like, not enough currency. The currency isn't strong enough there. You get what I mean? They will literally deny themselves happiness to fit into these gender roles so that they can substantiate their value. Now, a lot of what I want to talk about is why we perform beauty as women. And I'm going to start with my home turf. Africa. This is like where I grew up. I grew up in Kenya, so I understand beauty, and I'm just gonna go off of that. A lot of beauty is defined by capitalism, and this is what I'm trying to argue. I want us to think about those two questions, especially when we talk about capitalism. Colonialism changed beauty because it brought capitalism, and that is the thing I need to explain because it shows beautifully what I'm trying to get at. Pre-colonially, beauty in Africa was attainable, it was functional, it was by everyone, and it was shared by both women and men. Patriarchy existed, but once you bring in anti-black Euro-centric capitalism into this patriarchy pro max, it's like patriarchy pro max is on crack. And once that was forced into African society, beauty became then a woman's responsibility. And I'm going to explain why that is so, because we're going to also try to talk about Western women and how that looked like for them. To show this on an even more specific scale about how capitalism really influences your relationship with your appearance, we can compare by region in Kenya as an example. So we have Nairobi, which is the capital city. This is where most colonization happened, where most industrialization. So it's the most capitalist adjacent city. It is the most industrialized city compared to the other counties in the countryside. When I go back to the village in my home in Kakamega, I realize that women have a very different relationship with their appearance. Women in the village don't overthink poses. They do their hair how they want to. They wear colors they want. They wear clothes that they like. And we label it as kienyeji because to us it doesn't fit our standard. We see it as primitive. We mock them even. While they simply just have a really good perception of themselves. They think highly of themselves and they feel beautiful. And when we talk about capitalism, we have to talk about social media because with industrialization comes social media. So this was a study done on girls in Fiji who were introduced to different Western types of media, different shows, and all of a sudden they reported people throwing up to lose weight or just very much a different beauty standard starting to arise within these teenage girls. And so that is just a way that capitalism also shapes our perception of beauty. And on TikTok, when I brought up about how makeup is used by patriarchy to oppress us, they said that men love natural. So it's actually revolutionary to put on makeup. Well, yes and no. This is the thing. Beauty is not personal. Beauty is defined socially. Would you think of yourself as beautiful or ugly if you existed alone in the world? So this is the thing. It is based on how we interact with beauty, what that means. Beauty is defined socially. So how men interact with beauty shapes our and their perception of it. That this is like men in the village, men in shags, they don't care whether these women have makeup or not. Even they're just not the market. They genuinely don't even have time to engage in social politics. Furthermore, there's other different things that just don't exist in the economic landscape. Like, they do not have to clock into a corporate job every day or be in the service industry. This is mostly a very domestic economy with around people right? Going to the farm with people that like no one's really hiring you. Like, this is like self-sufficient. In African cities, now we compare it with the city life. In African cities, we find a lot of different economic classes, which isn't the case in the village. As I've said, like, this is a very homogeneous socioeconomic landscape. Now, in the city, we can evaluate the working class first. And when working class women put on makeup in the city, I want to explain that it symbolizes the participation in capitalism. It shows that we have money to afford these things and men feel emasculated. It also symbolizes modernity, and modern women are not gonna conform to the typical misogynistic working class man, right? When they say that they don't like it, it's because it symbolizes something. Now this also, and especially if you think about the proximity to upper class and middle class women, like in the city we all interact, and you can feel a bit intimidated because a girl is like nails, hair done, everything. You don't have the money for that. That's a baddie. You can't afford it, right? And it emasculates this man. Now this all sounds super revolutionary, but there's a point at which it stops being that. It stops when you fully commit to capitalism, when everyone can afford it, when both men and women are relatively within the same socioeconomic classes. Like, if we look at it, when we don't compare working, like, let's think about middle class men interacting with middle class women, upper class men interacting with upper class women, right? When they are climbing higher and higher, we start to notice something. I'm gonna read from Body Image and Black African Women, a comparative study of Kenya and Nigeria. This was a study that was done in Nairobi and Abuja. The women are educated, they are older, some of them have kids, they are married. So this is a typically, like, for me, middle class. Like, this is a middle class setting, upper class setting. Both nationalities reported ideal body sizes that were relatively smaller than their actual body sizes. Furthermore, the study says wealth index, nationality, marital status, and parenting status were significantly related to at least one outcome measure, because they were talking about body image, like body size, texture of your hair and skin color. And of course, these are metropolitan cities, Nairobi and Abuja. And I just want to, like, the conclusion of the study was that Eurocentrism was deep in these women. Like, there was a way that they felt about themselves that really was reminiscent of Euro-centric beauty standards. Let me see what I look like with my glasses on. Am I giving, Professor? Okay. So I want to move into this aspect a little bit more.
But there was also something refreshing about the amount of time she was putting into herself. She loved the ritual, the attention to detail, the anxiety and excitement she felt in her stomach.
Chapter 2, The Third Shift. I first came across this term in Naomi Wolf's Beauty Myth. I didn't finish this book. I think there's a lot of things that I just did not like, especially, like, it's a classic when we talk about respectability politics, but the academic writing style, a lot of the statistical methods are very much to be criticized. I just was not enjoying it, but the pages that I did read really have valuable input, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people would gain insight from looking into this book. Maybe I will have to write my own just to feel like, well. the thing that I absolutely love about this term is that it so beautifully encapsulates and depicts what I mean by beauty being a tool used by capitalism to subjugate women, as beauty being a patriarchal tool. So in feminist theory, we are talking about labor that women perform when we talk about shifts. We have the first shift, which is your work and where you're employed. Then we have the second shift, which is where you come home and you have to do domestic labor in the house because your husband's not helping you, right? And then we have and this is a story that, we've seen it in our moms, we've seen it in our aunts, our dad's just sitting there, or and this is worldwide, by the way, this is a worldwide phenomenon that women, wives, do more domestic labor than men, even though they would be working the same hours, or women even working more hours, right? Then we have the third shift, and this is the beauty regimen that you do in the morning before you leave for work, and the skincare routine that you'll do once you come back from work. And this third shift doesn't exist for men. Men are not putting on makeup to go to work. They're putting on a suit, but you are taking 2 more hours or whatever time to do that. And then when you come back home, you've done your first, second shift, and then you have to take your third shift where you put all these things on your face and you do skincare. And of course, we can label that as self-care, but you get what I mean. You get what I mean. Men are not participating in that. Men clock in for the first shift. Women clock in for the first, second, and third shifts. And once you can see that, then you can understand my point. Let's evaluate middle and upper class women and girls in Nairobi. They love makeup. We love being put together, bro. We love it. And because they are the market, right? Again, capitalism really wants a market, and it is found within the upper class, middle class women because they can afford products. Even the guys as well now become accustomed to that. They're accustomed to women being baddies, and then they start wanting the baddies. So I think this whole sentiment of where men don't like makeup, bro, we both know, we all know that they don't know the difference. They don't know the difference. When we say you guys have forgotten what real women look like, it's because they have. That's what they perceive as a beautiful woman. The third shift is synonymous to women and girls. If you are a woman and you aren't clocking into the third shift, then what value do you have? Naomi Wolf argues that when women gained access to money, when women gained access to the participation in the labor market in work, beauty is still used to bar us from achieving our full potential, from self-actualizing. All the money we use on makeup that men don't, the time we spend on our appearance that men do not, we are putting in a lot of hours of labor that men are just not. We know this, and we know this. The body positivity movement is pioneered by and centered around women for a reason. The natural hair movement is pioneered and centered around women for a reason. Chapter 3, Western women and beauty. Now I go into the other side of the globe. Well, depends. We're going up, further up into you get it. You get what I mean. You see, in Africa, we are new employees in the third shift. But Western women, they are long-term employees. They've started to feel it. It's tiring them out. And that is what differentiates the working woman in Africa to the working woman in the West. We just recently gained access as African women to industrialization. Well, access, I'm not going to say we gained access. We were forced into it, right? And so we have a very different understanding of what beauty is. We've not yet realized the third shift exists, The first time I brought it up on Twitter, African women flamed me. I was cooked continentally. Then I made a video about it on TikTok, and that did really well in the West. And that was the first time that I felt validated in my thoughts. And in my opinion, it's because Western women have been working the third shift for longer than we have. just like how it took time to recognize the second shift, even if we could, especially when you consider that waves of feminism are at different stages according to where you are in the world, it is no surprise that Western women would be more likely to see this and more likely to, validate me. And also, they're not usually in an extreme survival mode and are the biggest market. Like, Western women are the biggest consumers of the beauty industry. So there's time to ponder on socially implied misogyny. But then that begs the question of, when did beauty become women's duty primarily, especially in the West? Because before, beauty was performed by the rich and it was by both genders. So what happened to make it women's role, primarily? What happened to make it only for women? And I did some digging and I did research, and I don't know. I don't know. Like, there's no definitive point in time I can say this is when and this is why. So apparently somewhere maybe around the French Revolution, when beauty became associated with the bourgeoisie, something kind of flipped. And I guess because they didn't want women to go to school and they didn't want women to be educated, that was just something they didn't care about. They're like, yeah, you guys can be pretty if you guys like. And women to gain a sense of agency and again, a sense of independence. We're like, okay, I guess. But that for me is just a theory, and I think there's too many holes in it. So I don't think it's a definitive reason. And I think that this duty to be beautiful followed women, even when they did then gain access to formal work and were being paid. They were not only wives, but also labor. But to be very honest, let me fix my ring here. To be very honest, the first and second wave of feminism really worked on redefining what gender roles were, especially when it came to women's looks and what it means for beauty, what we can be. It was a very, first and second wave feminists really tried to go against gender norms. And I think that during third and fourth wave, something happened. Something got murky. I feel that in an attempt to cater to women that might have not been able to let go of their patriarchal desires, choice feminism was born, especially since the men were and are still pushing this narrative of feminists are ugly. Women who've been raised to literally be beautiful do not like how that feels. So I think in the attempt to recruit everyone, we kind of got the whole, I'm not doing this for the male gaze. I'm doing this for me. I can be a feminist and still indulge in beauty. Things like that. And which makes so much sense, because who wouldn't want to be beautiful in a patriarchal world? Look at that word, beauty. You being shown a semblance of humanity is hinged onto you being perceived as beautiful. It's not just something we can easily let go of. And I think that dissecting this might make us feel like we've done nothing in terms of progress, which isn't true at all. The world just needs a lot of reshaping, especially since misogyny has always existed. Well, misogyny is the oldest discrimination in the book. And as I always say, choice feminism is a coping mechanism more than anything, and it's okay to recognize that. I think it is a bleak reality to accept just how much of our lives are controlled by patriarchy and by capitalism. And I think that packaging beauty as a way to feel powerful is us trying to regain control and will. But the thing is, we're living by patriarchy's rules. Chapter 4, Beauty in Patriarchy. So firstly, in patriarchy and capitalism, beauty holds worth, right? What do I mean by this? I mean that we care about attractiveness in our society, that what you look like only matters because we are in patriarchy and capitalism. The value system that exists in this society is nonsensical to me. If I look at pre-colonial Africa, if I even look at early human civilizations, what you look like was a non-issue, bro. You could look however, just as long as you're getting your work done. But that is different when it comes to society now. Cashing out from each part of the human existence is the point of capitalism. Subjugating people based on appearance is the point of patriarchy. So of course, they're gonna cash out on appearance to maximize. I'm about to say some woke words. Okay, I'm about to be real woke right now. So what imperialist capitalist patriarchy does is say beauty matters. But not only that, it also says this type of beauty is what matters. It reduces beauty to an objective fact instead of a subjective experience that is well-rounded, and it makes it flat. It only makes it measurable by the outside, because the outside is what we can cash out on. We can't cash out on goodness. We can't cash out on, your thoughts. But we all know that beauty is an experience. Beauty is not flat. It is all rounded. But capitalism wouldn't benefit if we weren't trying every day of our lives to reach that one Euro-centric, fat-phobic, colorist, discriminatory beauty. The woke words. For the economy to keep running the way that it does, beauty must be discriminatory. There must exist a standard. There's so many industries that would literally collapse if women, were not insecure. If beauty was all-rounded, if we accepted that beauty can be anything you want it to be, the modeling industry, fashion magazines, plastic surgery, diet industry, bleaching industry, all of that would just fall right off. They would die. In a world where beauty isn't defined, women wouldn't feel terrible about themselves. There would be no one to buy these products. If all types of people were in adverts or having editorial spreads, or pageants would have all types of contestants, or this whole list of what most beautiful man, most beautiful women didn't exist, it would spare a lot of women and girls self-hatred. This brings me to my next point, which is feeling ugly stops women from doing stuff. Just stops women from doing stuff. Standardizing beauty, which is done in capitalism, stops us from getting quality art. It stops us from living full lives. The whole I'll do it when I'm skinny, the whole I'll do it when I'm skinny, I'll do it when I'm pretty. We as a society are missing out probably. And I saw this on TikTok. Maybe I'll get the video. That we are missing out on good quality art because there's some girl somewhere who doesn't feel pretty enough, who doesn't think that they deserve to be looked at. It stops us from self-actualizing and doing things that matter to not only us, but things that are valuable to the world. While men look however they want, do you think men who I remembered in history cared about what they looked like? They weren't there thinking, oh my God, I might not be pretty enough to do this. They just do it because they don't there's no obligation for them to be attractive or be the standard. And we see that in hip-hop, for example. Women in hip-hop are not allowed to be anything than the standard. And when they are not, and when they're not, they change. They do everything to get to the standard and to look, women in hip-hop have the same type of vibe. I can't imagine how many women are out there just not trusting themselves to do stuff because they feel like they shouldn't be looked at, because they don't feel pretty enough. I just really want to point out how we feel about our bodies and our looks as women. Men don't feel like that. Feeling pretty only when you have makeup on or only when your hair is done. Guys feel okay, and then they get a simple haircut. They feel like they're on top of the world. We go through literal pain and suffering to feel okay, to feel satisfied, I'm not saying that when you use makeup, you won't be able to find your natural self beautiful. I have makeup on right now, I'm just saying that the world will make it hard for you to do that, and it's a slippery slope. It's a very slippery slope. Considering that getting a BBL is the most dangerous surgery, people die. It is one of the, I think it is the highest fatality rate, and people still go under the knife. I don't think we have a relationship with beauty, guys. It is irrational to do a life-altering or like a life-threatening surgery for your looks. It is also irrational to feel pain, to remove body hair that exists, to tweeze, okay, to spend hours in pain. It is, I don't get it, or to spend like millions. Yeah, basically.
There's no way for me to have like a clear perspective on this, because this is basically just 5 minutes of somebody making me look really pretty, which how am I supposed to have any kind of problem with unless somebody else presents a problem to me? I mean, come on, you know, which is basically the whole point of it. Like, I'm gonna, you know, I'm treating the audience that is watching this video the same way that the character in this song treats the man. Look at me, look how pretty I am. I don't have to give you anything else because look how pretty I am. And look how successful I can be. Look how successful I can be with you. And look how much power I can get just by letting this light shine on me in this certain way. You know? Is that ridiculous? Is it true? Am I lying? No.
Another thing that women think that is empowering in this system is that being able to get things from men because of how beautiful they are. But like, that's because like there's a wealth gap and most of the poor are women, and men would rather treat you like an object than a human being. You are still at the mercy of a man. You exist only as eye candy, and it is only valuable in this socio-political climate. Lastly, on this chapter, I want to say that there's a sort of paradox that as feminists we seem to have. We understand absolutely that the world expects women to be beautiful, but we deny that we care. There's a stigma because we don't want to seem shallow, right? So admitting that we get worth from what we look like feels like centering patriarchy and the male gaze again. But that's the thing. What you don't understand is that it's not your fault. Like, that's society's thing. Like, that's how society works. The world is centered around beauty, and admitting and accepting is the first way to actually redefine and reshape beauty and the values that we want to give worth in our society. We give our daughters early eating disorders. We overpolice our friends' looks. We overpolice female celebrities, especially, even strangers. We sit and dissect our bodies together. We get our nails done together. We get our hair done together. A big part of why this is so enjoyable is because we do it as an experience together. We're a group. We're a community. We don't have time to think about why we're doing this, like, because it's so fun to go shopping. It is a survival mechanism that we share and pass on. Almond moms aren't just mean girls who want to belittle their children. They're women who have been taught that beauty is all that matters. It is a really, really messed up way of protection. But this is just to say that there's a cycle that we continue to perpetuate.
I think we place way too much emphasis on looks when it comes to building confidence, because some of you guys have not read a book in years, don't know how to do your taxes, have no sense of identity outside of the internet, and can't speak in public, and yet every morning, there you are looking at yourself in your full-length IKEA mirror going, "You're so hot. You're the prettiest girl in the world." Okay, and? Even if that were true, and let's be honest, who cares? Spell Pharaoh. Tell me what the FTC does. Name a single hobby of yours outside of media consumption. Exactly. Not hot.
Redefining beauty. What does it mean to be beautiful? I think, first of all, we have to let go of there being the notion of ugly or the fact that beauty is objective and flat. No, it is subjective and all-rounded. Literally unlearning all the discriminatory biases that you have been taught will change how you perceive people. If you can look and appreciate different types of beauty, then your life becomes more beautiful in general, because you can recognize beauty in everything, so you see more beauty. It doesn't mean that you have to be attracted to everyone, but just that you decenter beauty as a worthy metric for value. Just changing what beauty is will allow for people to express themselves how they want to. Beauty will become less of a duty, but like a rather enjoyable experience. I hope you don't understand that I hope you get that I don't think that makeup is bad, but just that beauty is bad, but basically how beauty is or how it is defined and our relationship with it currently is what I think has flaws. You would be able to accept yourself in different forms. You would be able to accept other people in their different forms. You can stop over policing yourself, and we can break a cycle of little girls feeling terrible about themselves. We can break the halo effect and pretty privilege, and we can stop the deadly plastic surgery that are being performed and killing women. If we value morals, good politics, education, and literacy over looks, then we can have better and more fulfilling interpersonal relationships. You can date whoever you like without ridicule. People can be loved in the open. You're probably more likely to find a good partner. Like a lot of things would just change. We have to stop using beauty as a currency. Let's stop using beauty as a limited resource. Rather, we must create its abundance and enjoy it. We should exist and not feel bad about how we look, and not feel bad about how we have been chosen to exist, like how we are existing, what our meat sacks look like, and what our faces look like. We aren't even meant to be able to look in the mirror. We're not meant to have all these people on social media that we can look at and gawk at, and that it's just not how it was supposed to be. Mirrors were not a thing. Being able to sit down and dissect every single piece of insecurity is new. Very new. I hope you enjoyed this. This is a topic that I find very near and dear to my heart as a woman. So I really hope it resonates with you guys, and I hope I did it justice. If you like what you've seen, please subscribe, and thank you, and see you on the next one.
Because you weren't ugliest girl in school, okay? No, not to be corny, but I gotta say this. All my life I would grow a year older, look back, and think I was prettier the year before. I never got to enjoy my beauty, but I kept obsessing over it all the time. I wish someone had told me when I was younger that I was beautiful because of who I was, not what I